Why Indian Army and Pakistan Army failed in 1971 war. I have worked on this book for almost 40 years, and it has been a very difficult, painstaking, arduous, very difficult, obstacle-ridden struggle. This book is more about why Pakistan Army failed in 1971 war. Rather, it is more about why the Pakistani state, not just the army. And when I say the Pakistani state, it includes all the Muslim politicians starting from 1916. It became fashionable after 1971 war to blame just General Yahya Khan and Mr. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. Interestingly, both of these belong to ethnic and sectarian minorities. Yahya being a Qazalba Shia, a very small community. Bhutto being Sindhi, although initially a Punjabi, Arais migrated from Multan, Bhuttas, but a Sindhi for 500 years. It was very convenient to blame two minorities for Pakistani state's failure and the army's failure. Anyhow, this book is about this grand failure, this grand political and military failure. So, I will introduce you to this book in a very short podcast. This is the book, as you can see. This is the introduction. Chapter 1 deals with the character of Pakistan's ruling establishment who laid the foundation of Pakistan's strategic failure in 1971. Now, this includes the politicians, Muslim politicians, starting from 1916 in Lucknow. Because in Lucknow Pact, a point which my dear brother, my friend, Dr. Ishtiaq missed, a principle was established of ethnic superiority. Ethnic superiority meant that the Bengalis were placed as inferior to the UP and Bihar and Bombay Muslims, as inferior to the Punjabi Muslims, and lowest in the pedestal, and their majority in Bengal was reduced from 52 to 40%. And this continued till 1947. So, this most unkindest cut is forgotten by everybody, which is intellectual dishonesty. The most important thing about Lucknow Pact was that a very dangerous principle of ethnic bias and ethnic superiority was established, and ethnic inferiority in case of Bengalis. This was the foundation of 1971 failure, because in 1916 it was established that these Bengalis were inferior. So their population, their legislative majority of 52% was reduced to 40%. And when in 1956, at gunpoint, Bengalis were forced to accept the constitution of 1956 in Pakistan, again their majority was reduced to parity 50%. And even then, Ayub Khan and Iskandar Mirza feared that Bengalis, even with 50%, will combine with Sindh or frontier and still form a government. So martial law was imposed. So this is a very sad history, but our intellectually dishonest historians, both political and military, hoodwink it, cover it, whitewash it. My book has placed this injustice as the most important reason for 1971 failure of Pakistani state in East Pakistan. There was no Hindu conspiracy, there was no Indian conspiracy. When Pakistani army officer says that Bengali Hindus did all this is absolute nonsense. Absolute pure and unadulterated nonsense. The order of battle in 1948 shows that from beginning, when civilians were ruling, the military priority was West Pakistan. East Pakistan was regarded as a backwater, as a Dravidian appendage, as I would call it. We will shortly cover the book. In 65 also, bulk of the army was in West Pakistan. Bengalis were regarded as nobodies. Chapter 2 deals with Pakistan Army's leading personalities, strategic caliber and their quality of talent. As background to 1971 disaster, now I studied in great detail and I have found out that the much overrated Safdara Yaqub was a total failure in arriving at any strategic solution to Pakistan's strategic dilemma of defending East Pakistan. He was a total failure, but again much overrated, and somehow even intellectuals like Colonel Qayyum rate him very high without taking the on ground facts into account. He was a total failure as Chief of General Staff from 1966 to 69 because he failed to formulate a strategic plan how East Pakistan would be saved in case Indians attacked it. He was a total failure. That he resigned in 1971 again is debatable. Initially he had no intention of resigning, but suddenly he had cold feet and resigned. Again a small part of history. His major failure was not that he resigned in 1971. His major failure, which everybody forgets or hoodwinks or ignores, was that as a Chief of General Staff from 66 to 69, he failed to form a concrete strategic plan how East Pakistan would be saved in case Indians attacked it in force as they did. Total failure. So Ayub Khan, of course, he was exposed in Second World War, well-known fact. Gul Hassan, again much overrated. He had no strategic vision and he could not arrive at any solution how East Pakistan would be saved. Rather, the predominant thinking in 1971 was, which was never put on paper or never declared, that East Pakistan is expendable. And as we will see in the debriefing, 205 Brigade Major Colonel Anis Ataullah said it clearly in his debriefing to the GHQ. Chapter 3, Pakistan Army Strategic Dilemma, whose solution it was unable to arrive at. Again, total failure of Gul Hassan and Yaqub Khan as Chief of General Staff. These two principal staff officers dealing with the strategy of Pakistan Army were total failures. In short, if you are more interested, you can buy this book and read it. If you can't buy it, you can tell me. I can send you a gift copy. Now, question by Pakistan Army General Headquarters when the PW Major Anis Ataullah BM 205 Brigade was repatriated. It's very interesting. Anis Ataullah was a direct participant and he said, number one, the strategy of defense of East Pakistan lying in West Pakistan was wrong. In order to defend East Pakistan, it was necessary to have adequate troops fully supported by proper artillery, armor and air in East Pakistan. Second point, Chaudhry Anis Ataullah, Sanders commissioned, outstanding officer, topped Staff College of 1970. My uncle's favorite student, General Nasrullah, admitted, the Chief Instructor, that he had topped the Staff College. Now, Chaudhry Anis Ataullah, BM 205 Brigade, says in his debriefing answers to the GHQ in 1973, the attitude of writing off East Pakistan in case of a war was none too palatable for the troops operating there. Again, another most important point which Anis makes, it was an absolute blunder to attack in the West so late. If an attack had to be launched, it should have been sometime during August, September, when conditions for movement in East Pakistan would have been difficult for the enemy. The Indians have taken note of this in some of the accounts of the war published. Moreover, by delaying till December, the enemy got time to organize his logistics and march all his troops to East Pakistan. This is the actual copy of debriefing answers of Colonel then Major Chaudhry Nisatullah. He clearly says it. Now, chapter 4 deals with the mindset of the military and political leadership from March to December. They were not clear. This is my father's account. He was the G2 operations of 16th Division. Again, he said that nobody was clear. Everybody was clueless what would happen in case Indians attack East Pakistan. Everybody was, totally dumb about it and trying to ignore it. My father recollected that when General Hamid Burmese visited 16th Division's General Officer Commanding Nazar Hussain Shah, in the end of his debriefing, very wittily asked General Hamid, "Sir, we have restored the authority of the army, but we cannot restore the governance and the political stability of East Pakistan. So what is your strategy?" Hamid Burmese was clueless and just laughed and said, "Let's have tea break." This was the attitude. My father came in 1971 middle to hand over documents of 16th Division to newly raised 33 Division. His cousin Agha Manzurov asked him to brief the staff college instructors about East Pakistan. My father's essence of the briefing was that Indians will knock out Dhaka airfield on first day of war, so movement will become impossible. Further, he said that in case what would happen in the end, he said, of course, the East Pakistan would be overrun. And all the DSS got very angry and he said, "You have got a defeatist attitude and this is not possible." Sultan Khan, the Foreign Secretary, described the word responsibility deserves to be noted carefully. Unfortunately, the situation had already developed to a stage where such a word had ceased to have any meaning for the military rulers. We were on a roller coaster which was out of control. This is Sultan Khan, the Foreign Secretary. And Sultan Khan continues, "I heard generals talk of starving East Pakistan into submission, cleansing it of the non-Muslim population, or injecting some good Muslim blood into East Pakistan as solution to the problem. Most of them were for the military solution, oblivious of the Indian factor, while others talked glibly about taking care of India." Sultan Khan continues, "The generals lived in a make-believe world of their own, convinced that the army should take care of the situation. There can be no more powerful summing up of the prevailing mindset than Sultan Khan's summing up. You can read it in his book Memoirs of a Pakistani Diplomat. In justice to Pakistan Army, it must be understood that 1971 crisis was created by Pakistan's founding fathers who enforced the demographic murder of Bengali Muslim legislative majority at Lucknow Pact in 1916. This was even noted by a veteran Muslim League UP leader Chaudhry Khaliqur Zaman in his book Pathway to Pakistan. Khaliqur Zaman even said that if the blunders of Lucknow Pact had not been committed, there would have been no partition, because there would have been Muslim governments in Bengal and Punjab, and the issue of power sharing would have been settled. Yahya Khan restored the Bengalis' rightful majority. He did so because he did not belong to any of West Pakistan's dominant ethnic groups, Punjabi, Pathan, or Urdu-speaking immigrants. Now, this point is missed by everybody. Chapter 5 deals with how and where Pakistan Army could have launched a preemptive attack in October 1971. These are the various possibilities. Chapter 6. A phony war was thus fought where most of the Pakistan Army units never saw serious action. This was in West Pakistan. Some 75% of Pakistan Army never saw any action because everybody knew that East Pakistan will fall, and naturally, if we don't take any action, Indians will not be provoked and West Pakistan would be saved. This was, in a nutshell, the operational strategy. Ladakh and Baltistan, it was given low priority, not a single battalion was deployed there, and Indians made massive gains in Shyok Valley and in Kargil, which finally led to the Siachen disaster of Zia era of 1984. As you can see, northern areas was given a very low priority. They were again regarded as Shudras. This is the Kargil failure of 71, much whitewashed and hidden. Poonch was a total failure, as you can see. Vast bulk of casualties were suffered by the irregular AKRF battalions. Out of 100 killed, 5 FF lost only 3, while 51 Punjab lost 14. So this was the Poonch operation. 23 division operation had a good chance of success on the first day. Indian 10 division commander was totally incompetent, but again because of the failure of Pakistani map reading, failure to reach even the 5-kilometer route to the main battle area, whole squadrons getting lost. That was the first day's problem, and 23 division headquarters was a total failure. The staff, the colonel staff, as General Israr Goman said, Chaudhry Abdur Rahman was never seen, and the G1 was a total failure because he preferred being driver of the GOC rather than control the divisional headquarters. Handling of Pakistan artillery was the biggest failure in 23 division. This was brought out by Shaukat Raza, the artillery historian, the official historian, but everybody hoodwinked it. Even the Indians falsely claimed that Pakistan artillery was well handled. Total nonsense. '23 Division was in a position to impose a strategic setback to the Indians, but failure occurred because of various reasons. This is the balance sheet of 23 Division. Highest casualties, but failed to cross the Tavi. One Corps was the most miserable failure, but again totally whitewashed. When General Zia came, he sent the Corps commander as ambassador, which was a very big shock for the participants. And Indian 54 Division was stuck in first and second layer of minefield for 5 days, but one Corps failed to launch a counter-attack and destroy 54 Division. One Corps was a total failure as brought out by Afindi. And Afindi summed up poor and substandard Pakistani leadership at 8 Independent Armored Brigade, divisional and corps level, the corps and lower formations, as Sardar Yahya Afindi summed up. The corps and lower formations seem to have been staffed by tyros as they let every opportunity slip out of their grasp. This was one corps. Total failure. The Corps Commander General Irshad had no operational talent as General Nasirullah Khan Babur described it, and should not have been promoted after all that he had done in 1965 war, the greatest intelligence failure of the war. This is the one Corps balance sheet. Most of the units of this corps in Shakargarh did nothing, but some units suffered unnecessarily because they were new units, orphans, and they were gladly shoved into battle, like 35 FF. 41 Baluch, a newly raised unit, did very well at Hussainiwala. Rest is the minor actions, not really important, but I am just glancing through it. just for you to see. Two corps saw nominal fighting. The only serious fighting was in Suleimanki area, where the Corps 105 Independent Brigade captured a small piece of land opposite Pakistan's Suleimanki headworks. My father's battalion was tasked to launch a bridge for the so-called counter-offensive, and when he went to 1st Armored Division and 7th Division, he deducted that there was an undeclared position of Pakistani higher headquarters that no offensive was to be launched, as this would have made little operational impact on the outcome of the war. Again, strategic cluelessness. This is one corps which did hardly any fighting, losing in total 109 killed. 18th Division again, total failure, as you can see. Suffering 142 casualties. Why and how Indian Army was a strategic failure in 71 war? This is not really the main thrust of the book, but East Pakistan, which Indians eliminated and liberated so-called as a new country, was Pakistan's strategic liability, and Pakistan without East Pakistan became much easier to defend. Naturally, the center of gravity was West Pakistan, and as far as the Indians were concerned, and all major Indian strategic thinkers agree that 71 war was a strategic failure.